The Legend of Zelda games since 1986 until now have been changing and exploring the heights and depths of this world. And the most recent title, Tears of the Kingdom, certainly shows that, but the game has been out for a while now, and there are certain parts of the game that could have been done better. So it's time to look at what Nintendo has in store for us next. This will be a two-part series. This video will be focusing on the story and the world and what should appear in it, while part 2 will focus on enemies, weapons, and combat. With all that said, let's jump into it. Every Zelda game revolves around its story, a hero conquering evil itself to save the land he calls home. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom didn't really have an impactful story, and instead let what you could build and where you went replace it. While it's clear that Nintendo wants to continue this fully explorable world, it doesn't mean they're completely ignoring story. Many Zelda games had a problem that fans complained about, and in a future title, Nintendo fixed it. For example, Wind Waker, too cartoonish. The next big game is Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess, too dark. The next big game is Skyward Sword. Then there's Breath of the Wild, which had the same design for all 4 divine beasts. And the next game was Tears of the Kingdom, which had unique dungeons with their own theme. So with fans talking about how the story is linear, it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo fixed it in the next game. Every Zelda game has its own unique part of the story, like a town full of insane people, or a peaceful village floating in the sky with a hand that hides in the toilet haunting them. Anyway, the new game would of course feature its own element of the story that sets it apart, but the overall style of the story should reflect the past games, like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, harkening back to what used to be Zelda. That is what Zelda fans want. The past games are very important to many people, and the memory of them should live on through the next games. It would be great to see this open, free world coming together around an incredible story. One way they could do this is put a piece of the story in the main quests, allowing you to do it when you want, but also not making it like the Dragon Tears, which are very linear and out of the way. The problem with Tears of the Kingdom story is not much was going on besides a backstory and learning about the Zonai, especially if you compare it to past Zelda games. In Ocarina of Time, Link literally was asleep for 7 years, and when he comes back, the kingdom of Hyrule has been overthrown by the Demon King himself. That right there is what makes the story so good, the unexpected twist, the important task that must be completed, and that is also what the next Zelda game needs. But what about characters? They're very crucial in the story. You have the allies like Zelda, and then you have the enemy like Ganondorf. His appearance shouldn't be at the end of the game only. He should appear throughout the game, building suspense until the final duel off between the hero and the Demon King. It lets you become familiar with the villain and what his intentions are. The world this story takes place in is very important as well, and I'm not as much talking about if it takes place in Hyrule or somewhere else, though we will be talking about that in a minute. I'm more so talking about what landmarks the land holds and how you explore it. Faron Woods, Elden Volcano, Zora's Domain, and even the Lost Woods, these are all ancient landmarks in the Zelda games. Making these more like key places that hold quests and secrets would make it more like the old games, because these were all important parts in the Zelda series. But now it's time to look at the question of it taking place in another world, or even another dimension. The series is no stranger to featuring other realms or alternate lands to Hyrule. The Dark World, Lorule, the Twilight Realm, and even Termina. These are all sort of parallel worlds to Hyrule. If they were to be in the next game, it would be phenomenal. It adds a side of the game that is more dark and creepy. Even the depths in Tears of the Kingdom gave you this feeling. But what if they made it like a rogue game, where it's a sort of dream world with extremely hard bosses that you have to defeat, and the further you go, you get better rewards that you keep in the real overworld. But if you die, then you wake up. Combining this creepy, ominous world with something like Trial of the Sword would add so much to the game. It could even be a DLC that's added later in the game. There's one more part of Zelda's world that I want to cover, and it's a massive topic among Zelda fans. And that is the idea of underwater exploration. This has been asked to be brought back by many fans. Nintendo has a massive opportunity to do so. It adds so much depth to the game. You could explore and find beasts, dungeons, secret weapons. It's always been such a big part of Zelda, and not to bring it back would be a mistake. In Ocarina of Time, there's the Water Temple, which is centered around solving puzzles underwater. And in Skyward Sword, it's a massive part as well. There's even a part in Faron Woods where it's flooded, and you have to swim around and explore this new part of the woods. This is something that the next Zelda game needs, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo added it, since it was so successful in earlier games. Thank you so much for watching this part 1 of the future of Zelda. For many fans, including me, it's very exciting to think about what the next Zelda game could hold. The reason I want to do this 2-part series is to get you guys thinking about what you want to see in the next game. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe so we can get to 2,000 subs. I make content on Zelda, Monster Hunter, and a variety of other games. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.